We've gathered 3 professional chefs and meat purveyors to blind taste test every frozen chicken nugget we could get our hands on to see which ones meet their standards. Tyson chicken nuggets.
The smell is really delicious. It's very nostalgic. I can smell like the toasted breadcrumbs.
It's very like homogeneous.
It feels like a Wendy's nugget.
They look really nicely golden.
Spongy, ooh.
What I'm looking for in my ideal nugget is a really crunchy, crispy breading that has a nice level of seasoning.
A nice cohesive coating that covers the entirety of the nugget. Nobody likes any bald spots on their nuggets.
I'm looking for it to be juicy inside. I don't want it falling apart. So a good bind, but also not tough.
A little bit of chew, but mostly tenderness.
We are talking about something that is made from ground chicken or a farce.
It's different than a tender because a tender is whole muscle, whereas something like this nugget has been ground and mixed almost to like a paste.
I'm looking for like salty, meaty, kind of a juiciness that comes from the fat content.
Really just a balance of flavors between that breaded seasoning and like a moist, juicy chicken breast. The crunch is there.
It actually has like a nice crunch to it.
The taste is, again, really nostalgic, classic chicken nugget.
I have like a deeply carved emotional groove to nuggets.
The interior is really juicy.
Very smooth texture. It's a little bit bouncy.
It's tender.
It's not dry.
You can see some air pockets where the emulsion took place.
It's pretty good.
It feels like a really classic nugget, like maybe like a Tyson or a Perdue. Oh,
Yeah.
you got it.
Tyson brand chicken nuggets. No hormones or steroids added.
It's almost every chicken product says this, but this is required by law.
Hormones and steroids have been outlawed in chicken productions.
Breading set in vegetable oil just means frying. It's a great way to fry something without saying that this has been fried before it gets to you.
This definitely tasted like my childhood, very familiar to me.
Perdue Panko chicken nuggets.
Ooh, this feels bouncier and denser,
The chicken itself has a nice bouncy texture.
but less breading.
So this has a lot of chicken and a small amount of breading.
Very delicate breading, but cohesive breading.
For this one, more so than the Tyson one, I can really taste the chicken.
Has a nice flavor to it. It's salty.
Though the crust is definitely not as crispy.
It has a very thin, kind of like mushy coating on it that comes off easily.
It's like a gummy. It feels like maybe there was like a lot of modified starch used.
So the starch helps the meat hold on to its emulsion and helps develop some of its texture.
You could potentially use any kind of bread to bread a nugget. There are some brands that are using Panko now. Panko usually has a much larger particulate size. So if they're saying it's Panko, it's like a really, really finely ground Panko.
The meat doesn't feel quite as finely ground or cut up as the last one.
So it could be a mixing issue. The main thing is you want a good bind and not too much bind. Otherwise something becomes tough.
It feels really classic again, like Perdue.
This is a Perdue nug.
Yes, I was right. It's a Perdue. These are the Panko nuggets. This doesn't feel like a Panko experience to me.
Panko should be made from Japanese bread, and that has a very different crumb structure from the way it's manipulated and the way it's kneaded and then the way it's baked. So it has a much more open texture. Whereas, if you use something that was more like an Italian breadcrumb made from Western bread, it would be more of that like chicken Parmesan texture. It's a much more tight breading.
A good solid chicken nugget, it's not crispy. It's very gummy, which for Panko should not be the case.
I would guess they probably didn't use real Panko
This is not Panko.
because real Panko is expensive.
This has a no antibiotics ever claim.
The antibiotics they were giving to chickens to prevent them from getting sick in overpacked houses also help them grow faster. Because Americans expect chicken to be cheap, it's pushed the industry in the chase of meeting that demand and profits to raise birds very, very quickly.
All chickens, once they go to slaughter, they have to test negative for antibiotics. So even animals that were given antibiotics, it should be out of their system by the time that they're processed. But no antibiotics ever means that they were never given any antibiotics throughout their life cycle.
Perdue Simply Smart Organic lightly breaded Dino nuggets.
We've got a T-Rex right here.
A stegosaurus and maybe a swimming dinosaur? Who doesn't like a dinosaur-shaped chicken nugget?
Okay, that was kind of disappointing.
Texture is not great.
No crunch, like zero crunch.
It's pretty chewy and dry.
Very gummy, very starchy.
Theoretically, the Dino shape increases the surface area of the nugget, so it should have opportunities for more textures and crispy bits, but they kind of missed the mark with this one.
They taste like salty breaded meat.
Strong chicken flavor.
Salt level is good.
A good amount of grease. Not seeing any juice in here. The grease and the fattiness is probably coming from the par fry,
All nuggets are pre-fried.
which is a really important step in a frozen nugget to keep the coating adhered to the chicken.
You need the temperature to be at a certain range, at least above 325 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's a sweet spot where the water is evaporating at a rate that repels the oil from the coating while still making everything crisp. That's the problem with frying things at low temperatures, is that you're not creating enough steam to repel the oil, so that's what the grease gets lodged into the breading. It's less than awesome.
Because they're frozen, they can also be kind of like somewhat natural as well, right? So like you can make a chicken nugget without lots of chemicals in it. They are clearly targeted at a young audience that probably would have no issue with them.
Ooh,
Okay.
Perdue strikes again. Oh, lightly breaded.
Obviously the Dino shapes are marketed towards children, but like the rest of this, the Simply Smart, the lightly breaded, is sort of giving like adult health food. I actually don't think the breading on this was any thinner than like the Panko version, and they both had that kind of like gummy, starchy coating.
I would pick this over a lot of the others just because it's organic and what that says about the way the animals are raised and what they're given. The USDA has standards for organic. It means that they have never had antibiotics, which is the big one for poultry. They also have a minimum amount of space they're allowed to have. And the other thing is that all the feed that they're fed also has to be certified organic.
There was a Stegosaurus shape in here. I didn't get one.
Applegate Naturals chicken nuggets.
Why is it so white?
This is very, very pale.
This is the most unusual one we have yet.
They almost look like little biscuits. Coloring is not great on them.
So we eat with our eyes, and this like fractured breading is not giving me a lot of hope.
And also it's the first one the crust is falling off on.
Okay. Oh,
The crust is crispier than I was expecting based on its color.
breading is coming off a little bit, but it doesn't have that starchy, like gummy mouthfeel. Maybe they didn't use enough starch to like get their breading to adhere. Very firm chicken texture. It feels almost like sort of distractingly firm. That can happen if the mix was like a little too tight or like overbound.
This is really dry.
Or maybe they just went for a really, really lean nugget because they want to keep the fat content low. There's almost no fat in a chicken breast. So if you're just using just the white meat and no chicken skin, it's gonna be extremely lean product and could lead to something like this.
When you grind a meat and then it comes into the presence of salt, the salt will break down the myofibrillar proteins. They sort of like create this gluey, bouncy structure.
Meat has incredible water holding capacity. You can increase that too by adding salt or phosphates or emulsifiers. So maybe they didn't use any ingredients like that. Or
It's giving healthy. Who would have a healthy nugget?
I think it might be Applegate.
Applegate.
What about Applegate?
Ironically, the one I hate the most so far is the one that my wife buys for my son.
These are a really popular brand. So it has a humanely raised label on it.
Unfortunately, the free range and space rules when it comes to the USDA guidelines are pretty loose. Be able to use those marketing terms, they just have to have access to outdoor space.
Ingredient list is actually quite large and in the middle of the back. It's actually above where the cooking instructions are. So they actually want you to look at them. They're hoping that you're in the back of the aisle and comparing ingredients and you'll see, look, this stuff is normal.
If you see breast meat, that means it's literally just the breast. If you see white meat, that could be the rib meat, the wings, or the tenderloin. All really good things. If it's important to you to use humanely raised chicken, this is a really nice option.
It would just be nice if they tasted better.
Good and Gather chicken nuggets.
It's a very appealing looking product,
Really nice golden brown crust.
even though it is absolutely not handmade. They want it to look handmade. So they have like fancy machines that are like pressing them into these shapes.
Black pepper evident on the surface. I want to eat that.
Oh, weird taste. Sort of cardboardy.
I always thought it was gonna be like really crispy, you know, like fried chickeny, and it's not.
It definitely is crispy. This is one of the crispier ones I've had today. The color was set really beautifully beforehand.
I think this is definitely a cheaper brand.
This one's like really like aerated. Like it's really like loose. You can see lots of pockets in it.
Like it looks like a piece of bread.
It makes it kind of dry. Like it kind of looks like a sponge.
Yeah, this is pretty good. Ooh.
Good and Gather.
Which is Target's private label brand.
It's good, I gotta say.
So far, this would be the bottom of my list.
Ooh, interesting. Caramelized sugar. That is perhaps what is making the coating so beautifully golden brown. There are plenty of inexpensive brands out there that deliver really great value and a great product. And I gotta say, this is one of them.
Bell & Evans air-chilled breaded chicken breast nuggets.
Wow. These are whole muscle. They're not like an emulsified product. I would say this is something more like a chicken bite.
It's chicken breast. If you are manufacturing a nugget, like this, especially this pyramidal shape, would be a weird one to end up with. Because it's, like all the others are basically the same thickness.
Very irregular.
It's weirdly soft.
It's really good, honestly. It's the most chickeny so far.
Very, very juicy. And I think because of that, the crust got like a little bit gummy, but it does have a nice crunch to it.
The breading is weird in that it's both soggy and a little bit crispy at the same time, depending on the bites.
A big piece of gristle. Gristle is like some kind of connective tissue, and like that's fine. This is a whole piece of animal muscle.
I'm more off-put by the tenderness of the chicken breast than I am on the lack of tenderness. But again, that's me more just knowing about chicken.
Oh!
All right, Bell & Evans.
What's interesting about Bell & Evans is they take a lot of pride in air chilling.
After a chicken is slaughtered, and you want to chill it very rapidly, right? And that chilling can happen in two ways.
The most common way that they'll be chilled after slaughter is in a water bath, just a cold water bath with some sort of chlorine solution. That's the cheapest and like most efficient.
This affects the texture of the skin. The meat takes on a lot of water.
Air chilling is like you're hanging the carcasses and they're sort of moving through a blast chiller, removing the heat from their body like a little bit slower. It pulls some of the moisture out. So then they're also adding, says contains up to 6% marinade of water and sea salt.
They're pumping the chicken breast full of marinade. 6% is like not a small amount. So that will definitely make it more tender.
It's definitely a really juicy piece of chicken. I think of all the ingredient lists that I've seen so far, I think this is the smallest ingredient deck, which is really impressive.
This is like pretty much if you were to make nuggets in your own home is what you'd have.
Yummy Dino Buddies, dinosaur-shaped chicken breast nuggets.
Oh, we're back to Dino Nugs.
These are larger dinosaurs, but they seem to be the same species.
Okay, this is a pterodactyl. This is again a T-Rex.
They're very floppy.
Actually very crispy.
There's very little chicken.
Almost 50-50 meat to breading ratio.
It just tastes like breading.
This has no chicken flavor at all. Not juicy.
It's probably one of the thinner ones we've seen today. Breading is like very loose, as we can see, it's kind of coming apart.
The batter is not very good. They taste a little bit like raw flour, like an undercooked sugar cookie.
It's definitely like got a spongy, like kind of open texture to it. It almost looks like honeycombed on the inside.
I would cook them probably double the amount of time to give them some crispiness and texture. The problem with home ovens and something like this is that every home oven is wildly different. Even depending on which like tray it's on or which rack it's on, it cooks completely differently.
The other one was all right. This one's worse.
I think this is Yummy Dino Nuggets.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the brand, right? Yummy Dino Buddies. Yeah, my nieces ate a lot of these.
This strikes me as one of those things they put low on the freezer shelf. So when the kids are walking by, they see it and then they bug their mom about it and be like, I want this.
They're just like a very easy, uncomplicated chicken nugget.
I would have made them thicker.
It's very normal to have some sort of leavener like baking powder. It's gonna aerate the breading to make it crispier once you fry it up.
Not a great nugget.
Great value, chicken nuggets.
Nice breadcrumb textures.
I can see like really big pieces of black pepper in the breading. Very crispy.
It's a pretty solid nugget.
Pretty good.
Breading is adhering well.
It has like a fat side and a thin side. So it gives a little bit of like a textural differences to it.
The meat texture is nice. It's, especially compared to the last one, there's more chicken per nugget. It is hitting the juicy tender mark. It's very similar to the Good and Gather.
Ooh, great value.
Walmart.
Apparently this is one of the cheapest that we're tasting today.
It's good though. I'm kind of surprised at how good it is.
They're not making any claims. They just concentrated on making it tasty. And I think that they succeeded in that.
Good, solid, crispy chicken nugget.
Bettergoods gluten-free chicken nuggets.
Very, very fine breadcrumbs. They're very thin and yellow. And a lot of the ones we've had so far have some measure of yellow corn flour in them to probably improve the color to some degree.
The breading is definitely didn't get super crispy. It's a little soggy, but it is adhering really nicely to the chicken nugget itself.
Right. I don't like the crust.
There's no discernible pieces on the surface here. So that means the breadcrumbs were very small.
Or is it gluten-free? It is definitely more challenging to make a gluten-free nugget crispy, and also it's harder to make it adhere to the nugget itself.
What they use is a lot of modified starches and xanthan gum to create the gumminess and the pull, but you're never really gonna quite get the same chew as you will with gluten. So they all have a very short texture, a very cake-like texture. Pretty juicy. Ooh, a drip. That's the first one.
Let's say Best Buy. No, wait, that Best Buy doesn't sell chicken.
Oh, they are gluten-free. Look at that.
I could barely tell that this was a gluten-free nugget. Instead of wheat flour, they're using yellow corn flour, rice flour, cornmeal, which I definitely can feel and see, which in and of itself has a pretty nice flavor and a nice chew. Honestly, really delicious.
Caulipower, all natural chicken nuggets.
We've got the classic boot shape. I don't know what it is. McDonald's has 5 shapes that they do to make it seem more natural, that they're not all the same.
These are the brownest, the toastiest nuggets I've seen.
Oh.
Oh, crazy smell. What am I smelling?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty crunchy.
I wish it was crispier though. It has more of a battered texture.
It's very brittle, kind of mushy.
The breading is so overpowering in its flavor. I almost can't taste the chicken. You actually can see there's a double layer of breading. Is this a cauliflower breading?
It smells like cauliflower.
Wow.
Oh, Caulipower.
Wow, that is some terrible branding.
The I Love It nugget. That's kind of a weird marketing term.
Gluten-free always.
So the cauliflower I'm pretty sure that they're using is probably dehydrated, almost like a flour.
It must be folded into the breading after being pulsed very fine.
There's corn flour, chickpea flour, oat fiber, and then dried cauliflowers. A lot of different flours, a lot of different starches, and gums, which is probably why this breading feels so thick.
And I did think this one was more flavorful than other ones.
I wouldn't say I love it, but as far as gluten-free stuff goes, I thought this was better than the other gluten-free one. I would say overall quite successful.
Kidfresh chicken nuggets.
This one's kind of heart-shaped.
They seem to have a nice little crust to them.
A large breading particulate, very greasy, super, super greasy. Really not crispy.
However they were fried in the factory, they have taken a lot of the oil with them.
It definitely tastes like a cafeteria chicken nugget.
I'm guessing this was just vegetable oil of some sort, maybe soybean or corn, which can have kind of a greasy feel to them. They eat very differently.
If you put 15 of these in front of me, I could probably eat them. They're very little and cute.
Oh, is it a Kidfresh?
Kidfresh.
And it's a very familiar, comforting chicken nugget. Wow, oh, this is incredible actually.
There's cauliflower in this?
Cauliflower and onions inside of the chicken nugget.
Trick your children and get to eat their vegetable.
That's really hard to do and still get a really good protein extraction, a really good bounce and bind. I'm very impressed with this.
And there's also a second thing here. They're using whole grain flour for the breading.
So there's whole wheat flour, I think, in the actual nugget itself. I think maybe that's being used to hold some of the moisture from the vegetables. There's onion powder, garlic powder, and celery seeds, which is what I associate most with chicken nugget flavors, which maybe is why it tastes so familiar to me and nostalgic.
Very successful job at hiding the cauliflower and the onions.
Maybe it's part of the size and the surface area. They don't taste bland at all.
Good for them.
I would buy this to replace the Applegate one they currently get for my son.
Trader Joe's refrigerated organic chicken nuggets.
It's kind of blonde, kind of patchy.
It almost has a gray tint to it, which is kind of strange.
Looks a little rough, but ooh, there's an aroma to it though.
Like, there's a good amount of spices in the breading. Oh.
The crust is kind of thick, but not that crunchy. The interior is very bouncy. It could just be like really, really mixed. See, it's like a perfect cutout of my bite.
It's not juicy, but it's tender.
It's kind of sweet.
There's some kind of really dominant spice here, and I don't know what it is. This has the most like breading flavoring that I've tried so far. Like, there's definitely a good amount of spices in the breading, which I think would appeal more to like an adult audience.
I don't really like this one very much.
It's giving like maybe like AI slop feeling.
Is it a Trader Joe's chicken nugget?
They are usually rigorously test the products they have, which is why I think so many people love Trader Joe's, right? They sell one of this type of cereal or one of this peanut butter. So it surprises me a little bit that this product is not that great.
This is the only refrigerated chicken nugget that I have seen on the market.
Why would you do that? I don't see the benefit to that at all.
Think about what's happening in the refrigerator. It's not like a completely stable product. So there's a interaction between the interior ingredients and the crust that's constantly happening. This product is evolving for every minute that it sits in their refrigerator. Whereas a frozen product is essentially frozen in time. Things are more perishable in the presence of oxygen. For this to stay in your refrigerator for a month refrigerated, there's nothing I would leave refrigerated that's not a pickle in my refrigerator for a month and still eat it. And this is a cooked meat product.
The freezing is a really important step in getting a crispy shell. Usually they're IQF frozen, individually quick frozen, and that really helps like seal the crust in and on.
Not my favorite today.
Not my favorite, but it's good.
Earth's best, all-natural baked chicken nuggets.
What is this?
We have a totally new shape that we have not seen before. These are almost like a little fried meatball.
It has like a really nice toasty color.
Give it a bounce test. Quite firm.
There's like a funny taste. It could be the breading.
It's very like a drier crust, which I guess why it's all a little crispy.
You can kind of taste how dark the crust is.
It has like a toasted baked bread flavor. It's probably actually one of the driest meats we've had so far.
And not very flavorful.
There's very little fat.
To give the chicken nugget juiciness, they'll usually add some sort of water, maybe broth for some higher quality ones, and they will also add fat.
With some chicken nuggets, because it's breast, they'll add skin, which helps with the moisture and the fat content. If the skin is already on the breast when you grind it, you don't have to declare it on the label. I would say the breading has a lot more flavor than the chicken itself.
Earth's best for kids.
You do have water as the second ingredient, but that's not unusual for these. Pretty much every nugget that we've tested has water as a pretty high up ingredient. The meat will retain water to a certain extent, but depending on the extra ingredients like phosphates or stabilizers that you add, it will hold more. If you use like phosphates would be the kind of the extreme example. It increases the water holding capacity of protein to like a ridiculous degree. To the point where they have to regulate it because you could double the amount of water in like a chicken breast.
It's not great.
Impossible plant-based chicken nuggets.
They look like almost like little sugar cookies. They look like very perfectly crafted.
I'm getting a chemical smell, like it's wafting up to me.
The breading's not really doing it for me. It's like kind of gritty.
They have a thick battering on them or thick crust that's not crunchy at all.
The breading is totally falling off. It tastes like freezer a little bit.
It almost has like a cardboardy aftertaste.
The meat is very soft and kind of like mushy seeming.
It's not juicy. I don't know if there's like a filler of some sort.
My first thought when I smelled it was like, this is fake meat. I think this is a vegan product. It definitely has that plant-based protein like bounce to it, but again, like so does a chicken nugget, so it's kind of hard to tell the difference. It's just the taste where you can tell that this is plant-based.
Impossible.
Yes. The impossible nugget. That makes sense.
I have no problem with vegetarianism. I am largely vegetarian and pescatarian in my household. I have a couple problems with Impossible and the other meat substitutes in that they are highly processed products. Why are we substituting a whole food for a processed food.
I'll give you guys credit. I thought it was chicken.
And they're adding in zinc, vitamin B3, B5, B1, B6, B2, B12, which are things that muscle meat just like naturally have.
Billions of dollars have been spent to develop it, but it's still not very good. I'd rather have like a cauliflower or black bean burger.
When you put honey mustard on anything, it works.
Pilgrim's Ultimate Nuggets.
Good like breading particulate. They've got the boot shape, which is a classic.
It's pretty good.
Oh, very juicy.
I like the interior texture. It's kind of like fluffy, but not in a bad way. It's kind of juicy too.
There is a funny off taste. What is that? Is this plant-based too, or is there just soy filler in it?
It's got a little black pepper on the crust, which I like.
There's like a lot of onion powder and garlic powder. These are attempting to simulate a very meaty flavor, so they're pretty heavy on like the MSG and that stuff, which is perfectly fine and tasty.
It's a solid chicken nugget.
Pilgrims.
It's kind of funny that it's ultimate nuggets.
I almost thought there was cauliflower in this because there was like a sulfury taste.
I would not call it the ultimate nugget. I would say it is the ultimately fine nugget.
Kid Cuisine Level Up Dino Chicken Nuggets.
We have more Dino nuggets.
Third Dino nugget of the day.
They almost look like they should be like buffalo or something.
Nice brown color, black pepper in the crust.
It's very sad and floppy, is my first impression. And kind of sticky.
It's holding. If we'll recall that we had one Dino nug that was quite floppy. Smells good. Doesn't taste good though.
That is not a good nugget.
Super dry, no crunch, very gummy.
It's probably the mushiest nugget we've had today.
Did we microwave this nugget? If you think of how an oven works, you are cooking from the outside in. If you think about a microwave, we're sending microwaves that are vibrating the water molecules in the food, and they're heating up, and they're gonna give off steam, which is basically gonna steam the nugget from the inside out. You're basically releasing water vapor into the crust that you're hoping to dry out, essentially. Microwaves are terrible at crisping things up.
Can taste the black pepper for sure.
Which is funny because I don't think kids like that.
Is this some sort of like freezer home meal? This is what astronauts eat.
Oh!
TV dinner. I loved TV dinners when I was a kid.
They're very efficient for some things, and I do think they're underappreciated and wrongly maligned thanks to a long smear campaign towards microwaves.
Ooh, like a yogurt pretzel?
Kid Cuisine.
For one meal to take up this space is definitely not a New York City apartment. This is why air fryers are like the greatest invention for the home cook in 30 years, because in the same amount of time it probably would have taken to microwave this, you could have thrown it in the air fryer and ended up with like a pretty delicious lunch.
This is the only one actually that I see that just says chicken instead of chicken breast, which is fine. It just means that the chicken is coming from like any part of the chicken.
I think if you're 5, like it's just calories. You got to take the W's where you can get them, right?
Now, let's see which chicken nuggets our chefs liked the most and the least.
I would say my favorite nugget of the day was the classic Tyson chicken nugget. Very nostalgic, had a really crispy, crunchy outer coating, and it had a moist chicken-y chicken on the inside.
My favorite would be the Kidfresh, the one with the cauliflower and other vegetables, no antibiotic claim. That's the one I would buy for my family. The texture was great, the flavor was good.
I'm gonna have to give it to Good and Gather, the Target brand. They had really beautiful color, had a nice crispy crust, it wasn't too greasy, and then the filling, it had just the right amount of bounce and juiciness and seasoning. Well done.
My least favorite was probably the Good and Gather. It just had a really off flavor, and I couldn't even tell if it was chicken.
The worst by far is the microwave tray one. Kid Cuisine just shouldn't be on the market. You're setting your customer up for failure.
My least favorite nugget today, I gotta unfortunately give it to the Trader Joe's. I don't know what was going on with that thing. There was a strange aftertaste. It was kind of oddly sweet. I just think a refrigerated nugget has so many more opportunities for something to go wrong.
Chicken nuggets get a really bad rap as being mystery meat and overprocessed, but they're a good, convenient source of protein for your kids or for yourself.
Regardless of what it says in the package, put them in your air fryer, and that will triple the quality of the end product.
Respect the nugget. It exists for a reason. Just get a strong dipping sauce game.
Nugged out.